let's look at how AI can be used for unlearning. So I got this prompt from Introducing ChatGPT Edu Mega Prompts from Dr. Philippa Hardman, where she talks about unlearning or undoing, where we help students to identify misconceptions and replace them with more accurate understandings. And she has provided a prompt here and has diagrammed it to tell you which parts of the prompt are helpful and why. And then she gives you the text. So I'm just going to paste that in here into Bard. And she's given you space to put in. You are an expert teacher of, and let's say, biology. You teach students with about limited English proficiency in 9th grade with some knowledge of cell structure and a moderate level of motivation for learning. So we'll take that. Your aim is to ensure that your students have a reliable and shared understanding of the foundational concept. And let's go with metabolism. Oops. Misspelled that. So, oh, and she's from England, so I'm going to use American spellings on memorization. So we're giving now Bard some information. Undoing instructional strategy. Research shows that learners learn better and more quickly when the learning experience intentionally challenges commonly mistaken foundational ideas and assumptions and encourages new way of thinking. The highest impact learning experiences are designed to identify and correct foundational misconceptions before memorization occurs. Undoing activities are particularly helpful when used at the start of the learning process by identifying and then correcting gaps in knowledge, misconceptions, and misplaced reasoning. Undoing activities often ask learners to predict the outcome of a scenario. An example of a well-formed undoing activity goes as follows. Sharna is watching a candle burn. Once it's burned down, she wonders what happened to the wax. She has 4 ideas. Which do you agree with most and why? And then A, you give an answer, which is a common misconception. B, another common misconception. C, the correct answer. And D, another common misconception. And now we give the AI a task. Your task, using the information above, generate an undoing activity, which helps the learners describe above to correctly understand core foundational knowledge relating to metabolism. And you can put whatever topic you want in here. Write feedback for each potential response. The feedback should be succinct and explain the difference between the student's response and the correct answer. It should replace the misconception with an alternative conception explaining what the alternative correct way of thinking about the scenario is and how it differs from the student's misconception. Finally, suggest a resource for the defined learner type to look at which will help them to learn the correct version of the foundational knowledge. I'm also going to please use common terms and no jargon. I'm going to add that in there so that it uses words that English language learners might be familiar with. So then I'm going to hit enter and let's see what Bard comes up with. Okay, so here's our undoing activity. The question is, a student is asked to predict what happens to the food we eat after we consume it. They have 4 ideas. The food is broken down into smaller molecules that can be used for the body for energy and other functions. The food is stored in the body as fat. The food is excreted from the body as waste, the food is converted into heat and light energy. And which of these ideas do you agree with most and why? And then it gives feedback on these. This is the first one is the correct answer. The food we eat is broken down into smaller molecules that can be used by the body for energy and other functions. This process is called metabolism. So some food is stored as fat. Most of it is used for energy and other functions. Some of the food we eat is excreted as waste. Most of it is used for energy and other functions. And the last one is a misconception. We do not convert it into heat and light energy. And then for a resource, it gives us metabolism for kids. So this website provides a clear and concise explanation of metabolism for kids with diagrams and illustrations. It is written in simple language and easy to understand. And this isn't an active link, so I would have to highlight it and then go to that website to check it out and see if it's, hey, it's a real website, which is great because a lot of times AI will make up things. So this one is a real one, so that's good. And as I mentioned, the new Bard lets me double check responses by searching the web to see where is it finding the same information online. And let's see, our check is completed, and we can see in green here, and in green here, we can see that these things found similar content at the NIH, National Institutes of Health. Same thing here. So it found all of this information at the National Institutes of Health. If there was any incorrect information, it would highlight it in a different color. I think it's like a reddish brown color. And then there are other suggested search topics in here. So then we can tell it, using the information above about undoing activities, create a question with common misconceptions about let's see, why don't we take about anabolism and catabolism. And so, which of the following is the best definition of anabolism? It's the process of breaking down molecules to release energy, the process of building molecules from smaller building blocks, the process of maintaining homeostasis in the body, and the process of transporting molecules around the body. And then it gives feedback. So for the first one, it's not breaking down. That's actually catabolism. Not anabolism, and then it gives you the correct answer and what those other things mean. And then it gives you examples of or explanations of why some students might choose different answers. So you can then continue to give it additional questions, and these are great questions to use before you begin the activity. And that will help you to understand what students already know about the topic and where they might have misunderstandings that you'll have to work hard to undo. And then you can also use it as a knowledge check at the end of the lesson to see, did they really understand it or did they confuse something in there? So this is a great way of using AI chat to help students undo knowledge. Now, I want to show how you could use AI chat to learn something and have it act as a tutor. So it's important that we craft the prompt here in a way that will have Bard act as a tutor. So I'm going to tell it, you are an expert tutor and you are going to teach me how to diagram a sentence. So this is something I never learned in school. I don't know if you've ever learned it. They often don't teach this anymore. I have some basic knowledge of grammar, but I've never seen a sentence diagrammed before. Begin by checking for the prerequisite knowledge needed to diagram a sentence. Then start from what I know to begin to explain sentence diagramming. Check for my understanding throughout your explanation and clarify where needed. Then walk me step by step through the process, providing me with visuals to help me understand. Check my knowledge along the way. Give me practice problems to help me demonstrate my understanding. Do you understand? Okay, so this might be something that you could copy, have students copy and paste into a chatbot themselves, and that way each student gets their own personalized tutor, because I've got some basic knowledge of grammar, but that's different for each one of your students. Some students might know what a subject is, some students might not know what a subject is. So the AI is going to check for understanding. So let's begin here. So I'll hit enter and Bard is going to start thinking. And it's thinking. Okay, so it starts checking for prerequisite knowledge. Do you know the following grammar concepts? If you are sure about any of these concepts, if you're not sure, please ask me to explain them to you before we move on to sentence diagramming. And then it starts telling me what is sentence diagramming. So it didn't do a great job. I would probably want to revise my prompt to say, begin by checking me for the prerequisite knowledge needed to diagram a sentence. And then I should have said something like, ask me a question and wait for my response. Then start from what I know. So that's how I could have done this better. But another thing that's kind of cool here about Bard is that it gives me different options here of responses. So draft 2 here is, yes, I understand. These are the things that you need to understand. So it gives me the definitions of these things. And then it asks me some question. And then if you can answer yes, then it begins. And then this one also organizes prerequisite knowledge, and then, but it doesn't give me any questions. If I'm not happy with it, well, let's edit this prompt. So begin by checking me for prerequisite knowledge needed to diagram a sentence by asking me some questions. Wait for my responses and correct my misunderstandings as needed. Then start from what I know. So let's see if that comes up a little bit better. So you're going to have to tweak your prompts a little bit. So here, well, it didn't follow my instructions again. It didn't wait for my responses. Um, okay, this one does make me answer. So let's see what number 3 is. Okay. Um, all right, so 1, I don't know all of the 8 parts of speech. I think some of them are nouns, adjectives, verbs, adverbs, uh, let's see, what are the others? So if I don't know how to answer the question, it will help me out with that. So then I have pronouns, prepositions, conjunctions, and interjunctions. And then here it gives me a table showing the 8 parts of speech with examples. So a noun is a dog, house, book, love, happiness, pronouns, adjectives, verbs, adverbs. Preposition is how things relate to each other. And then conjunction is how parts of a sentence are related to each other. And then interjunctions are exclamations. And then the explanation and examples. So then number 2 was, what is a phrase? A phrase is a part of a sentence that includes a noun and a verb. So Bard's a little bit slow today. Not quite. A phrase is a group of words that work together as a unit within a sentence or clause. A phrase does not have a subject and a verb, but it can contain a noun and a verb. For example, the following phrases all contain nouns. The big black dog, the old abandoned house, the delicious chocolate cake. The following phrases all contain verbs. Chased the cat up the tree, stood on the hill, was waiting for me on the kitchen table. Phrases can also contain other phrases. For example, the following phrase contains 2 prepositional phrases. Because of the dog's barking. Prepositional phrases are a type of phrase that begins with a preposition and ends with a noun or pronoun. I hope this explanation is helpful, and I'm going to say that I really don't understand what makes a phrase. Can you explain? So if I wasn't sure, now it's going to give me some more information. So a phrase is a group of 2 or more words that function as a meaningful unit within a sentence or a clause, but does not contain a subject and a verb. To put it another way, a phrase is a group of words that work together to express a single idea. For example, the phrase "the big black dog" expresses the idea of a specific dog. Phrases can be made up of any combination of words, including nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, prepositions, and conjunctions. Here are some examples of phrases. And then it gives me a noun phrase, a verb phrase, so all of these different kinds of ones. Phrases can be used to modify other words in a sentence. For example, the phrase "the big black dog" modifies the noun dog. The phrase "chased the cat up the tree" modifies the verb chased. Phrases can also be used to combine independent clauses. For example, the phrase "because the dog was barking" combines the independent clauses "dog was barking" and "the baby woke up." So then it's giving me some more, and it's using the words clause in here. So I could say, what is a clause? Because it's assuming I understood what that meant when it was explaining that. So If I don't know what a clause is, then I can't understand its explanation. A clause is a group of words that contain a subject and a verb. Oh, that's what I thought a phrase was. A clause can be an independent clause or a subordinate clause. An independent clause can stand on its own as a complete sentence. For example, the dog chased the cat. A subordinate clause cannot stand on its own. When the dog chased the cat, the baby started to cry. So it depends on an independent clause. So now these subordinate and independent things are starting to get a little bit more confusing, so I can start to ask for more explanations. But I still want to go back and make sure I understand what a phrase is. So it's also telling me about modified. What does modify mean? So you can see how this is customized to what I understand. So you can have students go through and learn about some of these concepts in ways that they get to clarify their misunderstandings. They don't have to hold up the class asking for an explanation. So to modify something means to change it slightly. So, for example, the adjective big modifies the noun dog. So it gives me more explanations. And when I'm ready, I can say, I think I am ready to begin with sentence diagramming. Will you check my understanding again? So your students, in this case me, I wasn't ready to learn about sentence diagramming yet because I didn't have the prerequisite knowledge. So it's giving me some questions to check my understanding of sentence diagramming, and it hasn't, I still need some more prior knowledge in order to answer some of these questions. So then I know, okay, I need to work on this some more. So this is really customized to the individual learner. So giving your students a prompt that they can copy and paste into an AI tool can let you have the entire class working on their laptops and each getting their own personal instruction on a topic that you're learning.